Thank you for joining us for this very special investiture ceremony being conducted to honour those recognised in the Australian Honours System. I trust you all enjoy this afternoon's investiture and being part of such a wonderful occasion. May I invite those of you who are able to do so to please stand for the arrival of His Excellency the Honourable Chris Dawson APM, Governor of Western Australia, and Mrs Darrylyn Dawson. Thank you. Please be seated. A very warm welcome to everyone here in the Government House Ballroom or joining us via our live stream today. I would like to invite a very special friend to everyone here at Government House, Emeritus Professor Colleen Hayward, AM, to present the Welcome to Country.
Thank you, Carol. Governor, Mrs Dawson, former Governors Michael and Sanderson, political leaders, service chiefs, honours recipients, families, friends, distinguished guests all. Today, as we celebrate the investiture of key community leaders in Western Australia, it is my pleasure to help us also recognise and celebrate the place of Aboriginal Western Australians and the relationship we all have to this wonderful state of ours. In doing so, I acknowledge that we are meeting on land that is part of the traditional country of the people of the Noongar Nation, and I pay my respects to Noongar elders past and present. I welcome you to Noongar country, and I especially note that the Noongar clan for the metropolitan area is the Whadjuk clan. Welcomes to country help us pay respect to people and to place, as well as to our collective past. They join us in common purpose and set the context of us being here together. In Noongar country, we have 6 seasons rather than 4, and the name for this season is Djilba. It is marked by the burst of colour in our native plants, most notably the creams and yellows of the acacia and the soft pinks of the Geraldton wax. On a day, well, the last couple of days that have been as stormy and wet, I'm sure that you'll like to know that the early flowering of the wattles means we're likely to be in for a long hot summer, known to us as Camberang and Birak. This ceremony, like all investiture ceremonies, is special. In particular, I acknowledge the work and commitment of those we are about to celebrate. Work and commitment that builds a common purpose for the common good and the betterment of us all. It is no surprise that words like conspicuous, meritorious, and brave are used to describe their efforts. In the language of my forebears, Kaya, Jorbani nunuk jinin jini, nala kada jini nunga mort bridia, kayan kadak nijabuja. Translated, that means, I am happy to see you. I acknowledge people, family, and the elders of the past and present of this land. All the people we honour today have done extraordinary things, selflessly and mostly over many years. On their behalf, I also thank the families and friends who have supported them through their respective journeys to this recognition. On a day such as this, I urge us all to continue to actively address the challenge of making the modern Western Australia inclusive, sharing and caring of each other. I honour you all and revel in the future we are building together. Kaya, I see you. Wanju, welcome. Be safe. watched over by nearly 3,000 ancestral generations of people who precede us, and, most especially, enjoy the proceedings and the recognition today's recipients so richly deserve. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Colleen. Such beautiful words to welcome us all. Once again, if you are able to do so, may I now invite you to please stand for the Australian National Anthem, led by Miss Ashlyn Timms, and please feel free to join in and sing as loud as you like as Ashlyn leads the way.
Australians, all let us rejoice, for we are one and free. We've golden soil and wealth for toil. Our home is girt by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty rich and rare. In history's page let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains then let us sing, advance Australia fair.
Thank you, Ashlyn, and well done, everyone. Please be seated. Terrific job, just beautiful. It is now my pleasure to invite His Excellency the Honourable Chris Dawson, APM, Governor of Western Australia, to make his address.
Well, good afternoon and welcome to Government House. I firstly would like to acknowledge the traditional owners, the Whadjuk Noongar people, pay my respects to their elders past and present, and thank Colleen for your wonderful welcome to country again. And also thank you, Ashlyn, for leading us in the National Anthem. My wife Darren and I are really pleased to be here and welcome you to this historic place, Government House Ballroom, for this investiture for the Queen's Birthday Honours for 2022. And we also have a number of recipients from previous lists receiving their honour award today. A warm welcome, of course, to our distinguished guests, one and all, but most importantly, the award recipients. Some of you, I know, have travelled long and far to be with us today. For those that couldn't make it, a warm welcome also to those that are watching through the live stream. Can I start by congratulating each of the award recipients? We'll have the opportunity to talk and award you personally shortly, but recognise your outstanding service to our nation and to Western Australia. So today is about you, and so please relax, take pride, enjoy this special occasion, particularly with your loved ones, your friends and supporters, who we would also like to thank for your support that you've provided to the award recipients throughout the time on the way. Today marks the second of the investitures for the Queen's Birthday Honours. I did an award ceremony yesterday. It was my honour to award a number of the OAM recipients for the Order of Australia yesterday. And so while in the past I've been honoured to be here as a recipient, but many times as an official guest, to be able to have the honour to award you personally is indeed very humbling. The conferring of Australian honours and awards at these ceremonies is an important part of the Governor's role, and one that I will always look forward to. It's a chance to stop for all of us to reflect on the good work that's carried out throughout our community, and it's also an opportunity, as you'll shortly hear these citations, for all of us to be inspired by what these recipients have already achieved. It's a chance for us to celebrate and thank people who have made a difference to our community, those who've strived to achieve their best, and those who have given of themselves to help others, often at personal sacrifice or at great personal peril. Over the past 2.5 years, these sorts of attributes have served us all well and have been vital in us meeting many of the challenges that have faced us over the last several years with the pandemic. And what is uplifting is that many of you have continued to help our communities while dealing with difficult times. That speaks a lot to the idea of duty, something that's very close to my heart. Our recipients today have not only been recognised for their outstanding service as citizens, but they've often done it voluntarily. There are those who have gone above and beyond in performing duties, whether it be through policing, through health, through emergency response, through the services of ambulance or fire response, corrective services, and those across the public sector. It's reflected in not only hard work, but striving for excellence, as well as dedication, generosity, bravery, and selflessness. It's resulted in positive impacts for our collective well-being, and simply put, it puts our state a better place to live. There's a broad cross-section of achievement that you'll hear shortly, and the service will be celebrated, as well as some remarkable stories of bravery. To our recipients, on behalf of all Australians, thank you for your work, for your deeds. They've enriched our lives and they set us all important examples. So it is a privilege to be able to invest you with your awards today. I hope you will wear your insignia with pride, and it may start a conversation about how others can also be recognised. Within your booklets, there's a hyperlink and a notation that perhaps you may want to nominate someone for an award at future ceremonies. I urge everyone here to think of someone you know that is worthy of recognition and consider nominating them and putting their story forward. So before I finish, can I also thank the Government House staff and contractors that have put a lot of work into today's investiture and thank them for what they have done. Darren and I will look forward to greeting you downstairs in the supper room with everyone after the awards have been presented, and we can welcome West Australians from every part of our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor. I now invite you to present our very worthy recipients with their awards. Governor, the Governor-General has approved the following Order of Australia Awards. Appointed an Officer of the Order of Australia in the General Division, Dr. Carmen Lawrence AO, for distinguished service to the people and parliaments of Australia and Western Australia, to conservation and to arts administration. Dr. Lawrence is known for a long and celebrated political career as WA Premier and Treasurer, Federal Minister for Human Services and Health, and the first fully elected Federal President of the Australian Labor Party. She's also dedicated many years to supporting the arts in WA, a passion matched only by her commitment to the state's conservation. A great protector of WA's environment, commended for her work in helping to establish and protect significant sites and parks, and for her role as Conservation Council of WA President, Dr. Lawrence. Thank you. I'll just get you to hold your applause, and we'll do it after the... It's exciting, I know, but we'll hold on. Ms. Lena Nyadbi AO, for distinguished service to the visual arts as a contemporary Indigenous artist. Ms. Nyadbi has attracted international acclaim for her original and dynamic artworks, with many pieces commissioned and hung in major galleries around the world. She is a founding member of the Woolman Arts Centre in the Kimberley, and an artist who has and continues to inspire future generations through learning on country. She is the recipient of many awards, including recognition for her outstanding individual contribution to the arts in Western Australia. Accepting the award today on her behalf is her granddaughter, Miss Kalnisha Rivers. Dr. Ruth Sheen AO, for distinguished service to public administration and to not-for-profit and community health organisations. Dr. Sheen has a long history of public service as a former Commissioner for Public Sector Standards and a Director General of 3 government departments, including the Disability Services Commission. She has also worked as Director or Chair of leading organisations such as Cancer Council WA, Census Australia and Ability Centre. Over many years, she has held key positions on state and federal government reviews, task force and committees, and in every aspect of her career and life, she has worked passionately to support the needs of others. Dr. Sheen. Appointed a Member of the Order of Australia in the General Division, Professor Marcus Atlas AM, for significant service to tertiary medical education and to otolaryngology, a specialty that is focused on the ears, nose and throat. Founding and current director of the Ear Sciences Institute Australia, Professor Atlas is a world-leading ear and hearing implant surgeon and scientist. He has dedicated a stellar career to curing hearing loss through research, pioneering new surgical techniques, and guiding WA's health sector to advancements in his area. He is lauded for his work in training and teaching of surgeons globally, and his courses are much sought after right around the world. Professor Atlas. Professor Graham David Barrett, AM, for significant service to ophthalmology and to professional organisations. Recipient of many major international awards for his work, most recently the Ransco Norman Gregg Lecture, Professor Barrett has dedicated his career to improving patients' quality of life through enhanced vision. A cataract surgery specialist, he's developed innovative tools and instruments for use around the globe, as well as formulae to improve patient outcomes. He's held international and national leadership roles, including as founding president of the Australian Society of Cataract and Refractive Surgeons and past president of the Asia Pacific Association and the International Intraocular Implant Club. Professor Barrett. Dr. Meredith Louise Borland AM for significant service to emergency medicine, particularly paediatrics, and to medical research. Dr. Borland is renowned for the internationally acclaimed emergency medicine research work undertaken at Perth Children's Hospital. As Director of Emergency Medicine Research, she is a driving force in ensuring it is ingrained in the day-to-day care provided. Her own work has resulted in improved practice and treatment in EDs globally. She is chair of the largest paediatric emergency medicine network in the Southern Hemisphere, and in 2021 received the AMA WA's prestigious Hippocrates Award for unwavering commitment to medicine and the community. Dr. Borland. Ms. Melanie Brock AM for significant service to Australia-Japan relations. Ms. Brock is one of Japan's most respected Asia-Pacific specialists. Based in Japan for more than 30 years, she is a force in strengthening business connections between Australia and Japan. Current Chair Emeritus of the Australian and New Zealand Chamber of Commerce in Japan, she's an active and strong contributor to the Japanese community. Following the 2011 earthquake and tsunami, she received an honorary ambassadorship in recognition of the work helping to rebuild several towns. Highly respected by the Japanese government and business sector, she provides a powerful link between Australia and her adopted home. Ms. Brock. Professor Dennis Gordon Eggington AM for significant service to the Indigenous community of Western Australia. Professor Eggington has been CEO of the Aboriginal Legal Service of Western Australia for 26 years. Across that time has worked to empower and advance the interests of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. A proud Noongar man, he has served his community passionately and pragmatically for decades. Highly regarded as a great leader and role model, he has fought tirelessly for justice reform and human rights of First Nations people, been a champion for Aboriginal land rights, and a leading advocate for supporting and developing the next generation of young Aboriginal leaders. Professor Eggington. Mrs. Catherine Hughes AM for significant service to immunisation. Mrs. Hughes has dedicated the past 7 years to encouraging a better understanding and uptake of immunisation in Western Australia. Her focus is saving lives by combating vaccine-preventable diseases, a crusade that is deeply personal to her and her husband Greg, following the loss of their 4-week-old son Riley to whooping cough in 2015. Through the Light for Riley campaign, the establishment of the Immunisation Foundation of Australia, and her involvement in a significant number of community health and vaccine-focused groups, she continues to drive change, helping protect the lives of babies and families across Australia. Mrs. Hughes. Miss Diana Suzanne Jones, AM, for significant service to conservation and the environment. Deputy CEO and Executive Director of Collections and Research at the WA Museum, Ms Jones has spent 45 years sharing her passion and expertise for the marine environment with visitors and students worldwide. Her research has seen her collaborate with international museums and organisations, whilst also mentoring students, in particular young women, who share her love of the marine world. She contributes significantly to scientific journals and is most passionate about knowledge sharing, creating a range of marine-focused tools and products to educate and engage. Ms Jones. Emeritus Professor Neil Andrew Morgan AM for significant service to public administration in Western Australia. Emeritus Professor Morgan is a long-time driving force for reforms to Western Australia's custodial culture and practices. For 10 years, he was Inspector of Custodial Services, charged with independent oversight of the state's facilities. A balanced and strong voice for prisoners, families and corrections staff, he placed particular focus on the needs of women, Aboriginal people and young people. As rapporteurs for the Asian and Pacific Conference of Correctional Administrators, Neil and his wife Irene have made significant contributions to justice reform in the Asia Pacific. Emeritus Professor Morgan. Mrs Carmel Margaret Stefanoff AM for significant service to youth through the Girl Guides, and what a service it has been. The bond between Mrs Stefanoff and Guides spans over 65 years, from her first foray as a 12-year-old youth member in 1957 to a double stint as Assistant State Commissioner of Girl Guides in the mid-90s and mid-2000s. She has been a leader, mentor, multiple committee member and all-round champion for thousands of West Australian girls, youth and women, described as an inspiration to many in the guiding community and a much admired and devoted volunteer. Mrs Stefanoff. Mr Jeffrey Macquarie Stook AM for significant service to rugby union, to sports administration, to business and to the community. Mr Stook is no stranger to awards, adding an AM to an OAM, an Australian Sports Medal, a Centenary Medal and a former WA Citizen of the Year. He has dedicated nearly 4 decades to rugby union in WA as a former player, coach and groundbreaking administrator. He also served as a Director of Australian Rugby Union, the Australian Sports Commission and the Australian Wool Exchange. A well-respected industry advocate across fishing, resource and wool sectors, his community service record is also outstanding. Mr Stook. Dr Taryn Wiramunthri AM for significant service to public health administration. Dr Wiramunthri has been an outstanding contributor to public health, a former Chief Health Officer for both Western Australia and the Northern Territory, and advisor to the WA and Victorian governments during the early days of the COVID pandemic. An outbreak response specialist, he deployed to India to repatriate Australians stuck during the pandemic and is recognised on the Queen's Birthday COVID-19 Honour Roll. His work in specialist health policy and Aboriginal health is highly regarded, National President of Australia's Public Health Association and Governing Council member of the World Federation of Public Health Associations, Dr Wiramunthri. Awarded the Medal of the Order of Australia in the Military Division, Warrant Officer Thomas Stewart Costello, OAM, for meritorious service to the submarine and surface forces as a warrant officer supporting improved workplace relationships, technical mastery and empowerment. Warrant Officer Costello's outstanding contribution as the Marine Technician in Submarine Sea Training Group and as Command Warrant Officer to 3 major fleet units has been inspirational. His attention to detail and leadership directly benefited submarine and surface force ships companies on operational deployments, ensuring morale and welfare were highest amongst leadership considerations. His unwavering devotion to his crew and the command team directly contributed to the high operational capability of these units. Warrant Officer Costello. Now may I please ask you to join me in congratulating our most worthy recipients of the Order of Australia Awards. Governor, the Governor-General has approved the following conspicuous service decorations. Awarded the Conspicuous Service Cross, Chief Petty Officer Luke Anthony Masterson, CSC, for outstanding achievement in the performance of duty as the Deputy Marine Engineering Officer, HMAS Waller. Chief Petty Officer Masterson maximised the availability of the submarine to significant benefit of the Navy and the nation. Through decisive leadership and technical prowess, he worked to ensure that personnel remained safe through 3 hazardous events and the repairs that followed, at all times putting the well-being of his crew and the protection of his country front and centre. His rapid and effective response under pressure minimised both danger and damage, expediting HMAS Waller's return to operational service. Chief Petty Officer Masterson. Awarded the Conspicuous Service Medal, Lieutenant David James Edgell, CSM, RAN, for meritorious devotion to duty as the Deputy Weapons Engineering Manager at Fleet Support Unit West. Lieutenant Edgell is being recognised for his contribution to vastly improving the technical mastery of the workforce and output capability of Fleet Support Unit West. His professional approach, competence and leadership style was seen as integral to increasing morale and improving production performance over an extended period of time. Well respected by colleagues and staff, his management and leadership set a positive example for other departmental heads to follow, whilst his mentoring provided Navy people with advanced skills to better equip them into the future. Lieutenant Edgell. Chief Petty Officer Shane Casey, CSM, for meritorious achievement to the Royal Australian Navy in the fields of personnel and technical seaworthiness management. Chief Petty Officer Cassie's dedication and leadership had a positive impact on many of Navy's people and their careers during numerous deployments at sea and ashore. He has contributed significantly to the mentoring of junior staff, resulting in increased retention of technical junior sailors, improved technical knowledge and understanding, and greater career opportunities and progression. His extensive knowledge and expertise has contributed significantly to the capability to command at sea across multiple surface combatants. Chief Petty Officer Casey. Corporal Marcy Thompson, CSM, for meritorious achievement as a patrol commander in the 2nd Squadron Pilbara Regiment. Corporal Thompson's leadership and professionalism as a pioneering female patrol commander within the Regional Force Surveillance Group has significantly enhanced the Australian Army's contribution to border protection operations throughout northwestern Australia and the Torres Strait. Her efforts to also support the development of Indigenous youth through positive mentoring is exemplary. She is highly respected by her colleagues and those she works to help. Everything she does and her dedication to the role and beyond are great examples of the finest traditions of the Australian Army. Corporal Thompson. And once again, please join me in a round of applause in recognition of our wonderful Conspicuous Service Decorations awardees. The Governor-General has approved the following Meritorious Service Awards. Awarded the Australian Public Service Medal, Miss Angela Kelly, PSM, for outstanding public service in the Western Australian health system, particularly during the COVID-19 pandemic. Miss Kelly has devoted her 27-year career to the improvement of the WA health system. Since early 2020, she's undertaken various roles, most recently as the Acting Deputy Director-General in the Department of Health, assisting and supporting the state's response to the pandemic. She provided crucial leadership, expertise and operational support across the health system. Her work in managing additional responsibilities associated with the planning, preparing for and responding to the pandemic also saw her named on the Queen's Birthday COVID-19 Honour Roll. Miss Kelly. Miss Joanne Stampelia, PSM, for outstanding public service in operational reform and modernisation of the courts and tribunals of Western Australia. Ms Stampelia has demonstrated outstanding service across her public service career, most notably through her work with the Department of Justice to inspire operational reform and modernisation of WA's courts and tribunals. She successfully advocated for significant amendments to legislation around family and domestic violence, helping to reduce litigation timeframes and victim re-traumatisation. Her support of new programs and policies from inception to implementation has led to the development of a holistic, more collaborative and effective approach to the criminal and civil justice system. Ms Stampelia. Mr Ray Warnes, PSM, for outstanding public service in leading significant organisational reform of the Western Australian Corruption and Crime Commission. As Chief Executive of the CCC, Mr Warnes has been a transformative leader, creating a commission of the highest standard by initiating organisational change, transforming corporate governance, making significant reforms to key decision-making bodies, and improving witness welfare to a point where it is considered a benchmark across Australia. He also greatly elevated the Commission's working relationship with the WA Police Force. With an exceptional work ethic, a clear vision and a strength of leadership, he's earned the highest respect from all who know him and worked with him. Mr. Warnes. Awarded the Australian Police Medal, Senior Constable Kylie Jane Bell, APM, for distinguished service to the Western Australian Police Force since 2002 through a range of detective and investigative roles. Senior Constable Bell has provided exemplary service to the force and community. Her investigative expertise, outstanding evidence gathering skills, and genuine care for victims and the vulnerable has earned her enormous respect. The complex investigation in charge of a multiple sex offender last year attracted widespread praise. She was named Most Outstanding Female Investigator in the 2021 Australasian Council of Women and Policing Excellence Awards. She is actively involved in the communities she serves, raising funds to support victims of crime, child abuse and neglect. Senior Constable Bell. Senior Sergeant Glenn Dowding, APM, for distinguished service to the Western Australia Police Force since 1986 in a range of operational roles. Over 35 years, Senior Sergeant Dowding has demonstrated commitment and dedication to the force and community, introducing initiatives to support frontline policing, including improvements to call-taking procedures and stronger community engagement and partnerships. He's driven transformational change at the Major Events Coordination Unit, and during the pandemic worked tirelessly managing increased event planning challenges, earning him a place on the Queen's Birthday COVID-19 Honour Roll. Highly regarded for his knowledge, advice and continued support of operational policing, Senior Sergeant Dowding. Detective Inspector Quinton Flatman, APM, for distinguished service to the Western Australia Police Force since 1990 in a range of roles. Detective Inspector Flatman's collaborative partnerships with community groups, agencies and local councils have been essential in tackling crime and community issues. He is greatly respected for his work with Aboriginal and culturally and linguistically diverse communities. At the Cold Case Homicide Squad, his initiatives helped resolve some of the state's most notorious cases. And at Major Crime, he continues to improve practice and inspire cultural change. Well regarded for his WA police legacy work and the personal time he dedicates to support police officers' families, Detective Inspector Flatman. Superintendent Noel Patrick Gartland, APM, for distinguished service to the Western Australia Police Force since 1989, particularly for his work as the State Emergency Coordinators Directorate during the COVID-19 pandemic. Superintendent Gartland has been a member of the force for over 33 years, with his experience and leadership coming to the fore during the pandemic. His critical role in supporting the Commissioner of Police, State Emergency Coordinator and State Vaccine Commander roles saw him implement key strategies and ensure the state reached outstanding vaccination targets. He went above and beyond to protect the WA community, earning him recognition on the Queen's Birthday COVID-19 Honour Roll. Superintendent Gartland. Sergeant Kylie Velios, APM, for distinguished service to the Western Australia Police Force since 2002, particularly for her work in prosecuting family domestic violence matters. Sergeant Velios has led transformational change in police management, response and prosecution around family and domestic violence. She's guided frontline officers and new prosecutors, improved relations with support services and shown great leadership as a prosecutor in the Family Violence Court. She is well known for going above and beyond to ensure victims are well supported and perpetrators held accountable. She is widely recognised for her outstanding commitment to policing and for inciting passion in all who work alongside her. Sergeant Velios. Commander Scott Matthew Warner, APM, for distinguished service to the Western Australian Police Force since 1983 in a range of roles, including as Police Commander of Operation Tide, the WA Force response to the COVID-19 pandemic. A stellar 38-year career, Commander Warner has led a range of exceptional police initiatives, including a review of serious crime exhibits and a major restructure of the North West Metropolitan Police District. As Operation Tide Commander, his dedication to duty has been beyond expectation. His leadership strategies to meet emerging threats were essential to the state's successful emergency response and earned him recognition on the Queen's Birthday COVID-19 Honour Roll. Commander Warner. Awarded the Australian Fire Service Medal, Assistant Commissioner John Broomhall, AFSM, for outstanding service to the fire and emergency services in WA since 1994 through a range of roles. For 28 years, Mr Broomhall has been an outstanding contributor to fire and emergency services in WA, playing a crucial role in major cyclone and bushfire response. Currently Assistant Commissioner Metropolitan Operations, he leads frontline operations across Perth and has been proactive in developing and delivering ideas to improve responses and save lives. These include better 000 phone services, heavy rescue equipment for regions, and improved vertical rescue capabilities. Assistant Commissioner Broomhall. Mr Harold James Moyer, AFSM, for outstanding service to the Volunteer Fire and Rescue Service since 1974. 47 years as a loyal and committed volunteer, Mr Moyer has held many leadership roles and attended many emergencies, including a devastating plane crash at Norseman and the catastrophic Esperance bushfires. He works tirelessly to train junior volunteer firefighters and undertakes considerable fundraising efforts to support programs and equipment. His dedication to the youth of Esperance and Norseman has been recognised with a life membership of both brigades. He is also credited with inventing very clever ways to overcome equipment faults, saving thousands of dollars for the volunteer service. Mr Moyer. Mr Alan Pugh, AFSM, for outstanding service to the Kalamunda Volunteer Fire and Rescue Service since 1974. Over 47 years of dedicated service, Mr Pugh has responded to more than 4,800 emergency calls and has been officer in charge at over 1,000 incidents, giving him the distinction of being the most active firefighter in the history of Kalamunda VFRS. He's also played a key role in brigade recruitment, initiated multiple community programs, and served diligently on the Western Australia Volunteer Fire Brigade Association. He is a shining example to new brigade members and remains a driving force in keeping the brigade inspired and motivated. Mr Pugh. Mr Michael Tarachi, AFSM, for outstanding service to the fire and emergency services in Western Australia since 1982 through a range of roles. Mr Tarachi has the double distinction of being a long-standing volunteer from the age of 16 and a career firefighter. Highly respected, he has played a critical role in multiple dangerous and challenging incidents, including the MH370 air search, 4 tropical cyclones, a raft of catastrophic bushfires, as well as being deployed to the Victorian 2009 Black Saturday emergency. Widely recognised for his passion and contribution to job and community, he strives for excellence in the delivery of services and safety of his teams. Mr Tarachi. Awarded the Ambulance Service Medal, Mr Ian Telfer ASM, for outstanding service to St John Ambulance WA and the regional Western Australian community. In just 8 years with St John's, Mr Telfer has had significant impact. An excellent first responder, he's also a game changer behind the scenes, project managing the redevelopment of the Donnybrook Sub-Centre, as well as leading the expansive rollout of defibrillators across regional communities. His plan to get everyone in the Donnybrook Shire between the ages of 12 and 70 first aid smart has seen him run more than 40 courses and trained over 1,000 people. He is also instrumental in improving resources at many southwest sub-centres. Mr Telfer. Mr Craig Telford ASM, for outstanding service to St John Ambulance WA in a range of frontline paramedic roles. Mr Telford has served with distinction as a critical care and special operations paramedic. Part of the Australian Medical Assistance Team, he was deployed to Pakistan during their flood crisis and to Christmas Island to provide COVID quarantine care. He has flown numerous critical care missions across WA with the Emergency Rescue Helicopter Service. He's also served with the Special Operations and Urban Search and Rescue teams at high-risk events such as the Yanchep and Stirling Range fires and Cyclone Seroja. A highly respected leader and role model, Mr Telford. Awarded the Emergency Services Medal, Mr Christopher Bryan, ESM, for outstanding service to surf life-saving Western Australia through frontline operational and management roles in the Esperance region. For 30 years, Mr Bryan has played a pivotal role in frontline operations and club management, 13 of those as duty officer and local coordinator of the region's response team. He's always the first to respond to hazardous and prolonged incidents, including the recovery of people missing at sea, shark attacks and resuscitations. He leads from the front, educating the community on water safety, training new lifesavers and developing crucial partnerships. Mr Bryan. Mr Patrick Shinnick, ESM, for outstanding service to marine rescue in Western Australia since 1984. Mr Shinnick has played an integral role at Marine Rescue Lancelin, over many decades responding to more than 150 marine rescues, including search efforts, shark attacks and sunken vessels. As training officer and now commander, he has long been the inspiration for new recruits and junior members in Lancelin and beyond. He drives key projects to improve the service, including the development of a new purpose-built facility and the spearheading of a new safety management system. A greatly admired, enduring and robust community leader, Mr Shinnick. Awarded the Australian Corrections Medal, Miss Carol Johns, ACM, for outstanding service to Western Australian Corrective Services as a prison officer, particularly for her work in sharing Aboriginal cultural knowledge and awareness. For 21 years, Miss Johns has been changing lives for the better. As an Aboriginal woman, her sharing of culture and knowledge has improved understanding and transformed relationships between Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal staff and offenders. She facilitated the first Indigenous cognitive skills course at Wirraloo Prison Farm and initiated the use of early alert systems for young offenders transitioning to adult custody. She is held in extremely high regard by all, but particularly by Aboriginal prisoners. Ms Johns. And I think you'll agree, an incredible lineup of Meritorious Service Award recipients. Please join me in congratulating them. The Governor-General has approved the following Australian Bravery decorations. Awarded the Bravery Medal, Mr David Michael Farsich, BM, for displaying considerable bravery during the rescue of people from burning vehicles in Breton Bay, Western Australia on the 27th of August 2019. Mr Farsich was among a group of brave motorists who went to the rescue of drivers following a fiery crash on Indian Ocean Drive. He fought flames and heat to try to rescue the trapped and unconscious driver of one car, but sadly was forced back by the intense blaze. Turning his attention to the other car, he worked with others to pull a second driver to safety just seconds before the vehicle was fully engulfed. Today, we acknowledge his remarkable efforts. Mr Farsich. It's tempting, I know, isn't it? Mr Alex Oliver, BM, for displaying considerable bravery during the rescue of a surfer following a shark attack at Bunker Bay, Western Australia on the 31st of July 2020. When a 5-metre great white launched a repeated attack on a nearby surfer, Mr Oliver rushed to the victim's aid, putting his own life in jeopardy. As the shark threatened, he managed to pull the man, who was suffering significant leg injuries, onto his board and began paddling 100 metres back to shore. With the help of 2 other surfers, they were able to get the man to safety, where he was airlifted for treatment. Without this extraordinary act of bravery, the surfer would not have survived. Mr Oliver. Father Liam Patrick Ryan, BM, for displaying considerable bravery during the rescue of a surfer following a shark attack at Bunker Bay, Western Australia on the 31st of July 2020. Father Ryan was one of the 3 surfers you've just heard about who helped rescue a seriously injured man following a ferocious shark attack. Despite the close proximity of the shark, he and another man paddled out to help a surfer who had pulled the attack victim onto his board and was trying to get to safety. Despite great risk, Father Ryan and his fellow rescuers guided the seriously injured man back to shore, a selfless and heroic act that we recognise today. Father Ryan. Mr. Tyler White, BM, for displaying considerable bravery during the rescue of a man from the Canning River in Perth, Western Australia on the 25th of January 2020. Mr. White would never have expected a night out to turn into a rescue mission, but when he saw a man jump 10 metres from Canning Bridge into the river, he leapt into action. Jumping in after him and making several dive attempts, he eventually spotted the man, swam to him and pulled him from danger. On reaching the bank, the man became aggressive and fought to get back into the river, but Mr. White kept him safe until police could assist. Quick thinking and selfless actions we recognise today. Mr. White. Mr. Jess Woolhouse, BM, for displaying considerable bravery during the rescue of a surfer following a shark attack at Bunker Bay, Western Australia on the 31st of July 2020. Mr. Woolhouse completes the trio of heroic Bunker Bay surfers who saved a fellow paddler from an attacking 5-metre great white. With no thought for his own safety, the father of 3 joined 2 others in going to the aid of the severely injured surfer, working together to paddle him back to shore and away from the lurking predator. A remarkable story of survival made possible by the courage of a few. Mr. Woolhouse. Awarded the Commendation for Brave Conduct, Mr. Rolf Ronnie Seidel, in recognition of his brave conduct during the rescue of a man from a burning truck near Northam on 11th of October 2018. For Mr. Seidel, this was a very personal act of bravery, jumping to the aid of a colleague whose truck had collided with a trailer and burst into flames. His friend was trapped in the burning cab, so Mr. Seidel grabbed a fire extinguisher and ran to help. On trying to free the trapped man, the seatbelt jammed, so he used his trusty pocket knife to cut him free whilst under threat from fast-spreading flames. With another's help, he was able to drag the injured man to safety just seconds before the truck was fully engulfed. Mr. Seidel. Mr. Don Satirov, in recognition of his brave conduct following the rescue of a woman from a house fire in Kareen, Western Australia on the 11th of June 2020. Mr. Satirov didn't hesitate when he noticed a house was on fire. Fearing someone was trapped inside, he sprung into action and with the help of a neighbour and a passerby, tried to enter the home. Initially forced back by intense heat and flames, they eventually used a pickaxe to smash their way into the burning building, locating an 82-year-old resident inside. Finding her unresponsive, they carried her out of the burning home and to safety. A true neighbourhood hero, Mr. Satirov. Mr. Shane Wilkins, in recognition of his brave conduct during the rescue of an elderly woman from a house fire in Yangebup, Western Australia, on the 15th of February 2018. Mr. Wilkins is one of 2 men who pulled an unresponsive neighbour from her burning home. After spotting flames, he and another neighbour rushed to the house fearing she was trapped. Breaking through the bolted front door, he worked his way through thick smoke, spotting the neighbour's ankles about 2 metres from the door, quickly dragging her out of the burning building and away from danger. Praised by the woman's family and recognised for his courage today, Mr. Wilkins. Awarded the Group Bravery Citation, Mr. Paul Redmond Connolly, Senior Constable Reese Colin Easter, Mr. David Michael Farsich, BM, Senior Constable Bevan Rankin, in recognition of their brave conduct during the rescue of people from burning vehicles in Breton Bay, Western Australia on the 27th of August 2019. When 2 cars collided on Indian Ocean Drive, trapping 2 motorists, a major rescue operation began. 4 passing motorists stopped to help and were later joined by 2 police officers. As 1 car burst into flames, a frantic rescue operation began, with every one of today's recipients putting their own lives at massive risk to try to free the trapped drivers. Forced back multiple times, and despite fire extinguishers making little difference, they never gave up, fighting flames, extreme heat, and acute danger to pull 1 driver to safety. Whilst tragically the other driver could not be saved, the fearless actions of all involved are honoured today. We recognise and thank them for their incredible bravery. Mr Connolly, Senior Constable Esther, Mr Farsich and Senior Constable Rankin. And please join me in congratulating all of our incredibly brave recipients of the Australian Bravery Decorations. And I think whilst your hands are still warmed up, can we please keep the applause going? Once again, congratulate all our recipients today. Thank you, Governor. That concludes the presentation of awards for today's ceremony. Our thanks to you. That also concludes the formal part of today's ceremony, and in just a moment I will invite you to join us for refreshments in the supper room below us, which can be accessed by stairs or lift through the arches at the rear. But first, I would ask those of you who are able to do so, please stand as the Governor and Mrs Dawson depart the ballroom. It's now my pleasure to invite our official guests to please join the Governor and Mrs Dawson.